from defeating the Cavs with a victory like no other, hitting three-pointers that left the whole crowd screaming. Ben Simmons always finds his way to victory, but some moments from his career are just a step ahead of the rest. Let's talk about the best of them, starting with his three-pointer. Being one of the best rising stars in the sport, you'd think that the player would be good at all fronts of the game, but something lacking in his skill that a lot of people thought would end up being a huge crutch to him later on in his career. Of course, I'm talking about his three-pointers.
Are those, but they're also good shooters.
Simmons got it for three. Ben Simmons, a rare three-point.
Eastern Conference. If not, they would lose it as Ben Simmons. Wow. Doesn't it figure? Simmons for three. Yes! Ben Simmons delivers.
They were basically unheard of, especially ever since he joined the 76ers for 2 whole years. Everyone was always clowning the player for just being fast and huge, so he never really had to use any kind of skill in the game, with even more people saying that it's going to be his downfall.
Right? He's a big man. He's still 6'10", so there's things that he can do to adjust his game. You've seen it over the course. It's like, okay, then I'm going to roll and finish guy. And it's like lots of guys shoot terrible from the free throw line. It's just you can't have a fear to go there. And so I sit here, and when we talk about coddling players, and again, I root for Ben Simmons, but when we talk about coddling players, it's like, the NBA is not made for everyone.
But let's just say that was far from the truth. Things took a sudden turn in April 2019 while his team was up against none other than the New York Knicks. The crowd went absolutely wild as the player not only made his first three-pointer for the team, but that very same shot also came right from the perimeter, showing once and for all to all of his haters that he's got what it takes to be one of the big names in the sport, and that he's always going to be getting better no matter what.
Ntilikina, a below-average three-point shooter. There's Simmons. Yes! He did it! Ben Simmons! Hold me back, Ben! Maybe now they'll finally leave him alone after that. He hits the three, his first in his NBA career. The gentleman, here's history.
I have to say, it's really inspiring to see a younger player have that mentality, especially these days when it's all a race to the top. With that said, I have to talk about his win over the Portland Trail Blazers. This one took place right after he came back from that god-awful swollen knee that he had. Nonetheless, the player was finally free and feeling good, and they made sure that everyone on the court knew that. What made it even more incredible was that the player had been kind of struggling to find a good rhythm ever since he joined the Brooklyn Nets. But I have to say, this was the game that finally brought him up to pace and really took things to another level. Even his coach talked about him after the game, saying that if it wasn't for Simmons being so confident and energetic, then the team would have already given up at that point. That, along with the incredible plays that he made, and of course you can't ever forget about those incredible dunks and assists. It was only because of his performance that the team was even able to pull off their best win of the season. All it took was 32 minutes for the player to really let all hell loose on his opponents, with an incredible 15 points, 13 grabbed rebounds, and even putting out 7 whole assists. Even Durant was left speechless after the game and ended up complimenting him, saying that he's absolutely incredible. And speaking of incredible, let's talk about his game against the Brooklyn Nets. Here's another game in which the player really proved to everyone out there that he really does deserve a spot in some of the best teams out there. Going back all the way to January 2020, the 76ers were up against the iconic Nets. It's a terrifying instance for a newbie like Simmons. What made it even worse was that Embiid was once again out because of an injury, along with them playing in the Barclays Center. A nightmare for any 76ers fan and player out there. All hope was basically lost as the Nets had a huge 12-point lead over them. That is until Simmons had enough of it and really went all out. By the end of the game, the player had a total of 34 points and absolutely blew his opponents away with a 6-point lead. How did he do that? Well, let's just say 12 for 14 shooting. That's all any fan needs to know about this match. Along with that, Simmons was somehow able to manage 5 steals along with 12 assists and even 12 rebounds. It's arguably one of the best performances that the player has ever put up, and there's no one out there who can deny that. The player has a knack for always figuring a way to win even when all hope is lost. And hey, everyone loves him for it. Just take the 76ers versus Los Angeles Lakers Lakers, for instance. Here's another one from January 2020. Simmons really went all out that month, didn't he? Arguably, though, this performance was even better than the one you saw against the Nets. Why is that? Well, simply because this was also the same season that the Lakers picked up players like LeBron James and even Anthony Davis. All the while, the 76ers were left with almost no one. Even Embiid and Richardson weren't going to be playing this time. So, all in all, their team was basically just full of rookies, but a team of rookies with a lot of potential. And that's all it took to take down one of the biggest teams out there, despite everyone already placing their bets on the 76ers losing. With that said, the team somehow managed to win with a final score of 108-91 against the Lakers. It's still a mystery as to how that happened, but a huge part of it is undoubtedly Simmons. Why do I say that? Well, they were only able to take the lead because of the performance that the player put up, with some incredible assists, 8 to be exact, 10 rebounds, and even 4 steals that eventually led to his team's victory. Not just that, but over the course of the entire game, he had a total of 28 points. It definitely goes to show that he's not someone that you want to underestimate, ever. With that said, there's no way I could forget about his game against the Clippers. There's no denying that this match was probably one of the biggest tests that the player had to face in his career. Taking place in 2020 once again, though in February this time, the Clippers team was led by none other than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So it's pretty obvious as to why this was such a big deal, along with a great way to check on the team's progress. Of course, this ended up in a big win for the 76ers, and all of that was once again possible only because of Simmons, who ended up scoring a total of 26 points all throughout the game, along with 12 rebounds and 10 assists. It wouldn't be a Simmons moment without those now, would it? The Sixers then won the game at home with a 7-point win, with the final score being 110-103 in favor of the Sixers. But that win was nothing compared to when the Sixers went up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going back even further to December 2019, the day that Simmons really blew everyone's brains. The team was once again unable to bring in 2 of its best players, of course Richardson and Embiid, so everything fell upon Simmons' shoulders to make sure that the team performed as best as possible. And boy, did he do an incredible job at it. Not only did the player lead his team to a victory that completely humiliated the Cavs with a final score of 141-94 in their favor, but he also scored a 3-pointer for the second time in his career.
Simmons, it's for 3. Got it! That's no big deal anymore. His second 3 of the season. Ben Simmons feeling good.
All in all, he scored a total of 34 points along with 7 assists and absolutely dominated the Cavs. Imagine a rookie being behind all of that. It's absolutely mind-boggling and honestly is one of the best, if not the best, moments from the player's career. That's been a look into some of the most insane moments of Ben Simmons' career.